Good rising, brethren. This is Big Judah coming to you guys from California. Before I begin, give all praise to the Most High Yahweh. Acknowledgement to the earthly mother. Who is wisdom? Who is the Holy Spirit? Acknowledgement to Yahweh Shai. I pray that the Most High blesses this lesson this evening, gives more knowledge and understanding of the events of the past in order to understand events that are currently happening on the earth. So we get a much better understanding of the things that are soon to come on the earth. Now, as we look at prophecy of the Gentiles and the few Hebrew Israelites that have followed the prophecy of the Gentiles, you're starting to see how a lot of their plans are falling apart. See, their plan was Most High starts to open up the can of whoop ass. Their society starts to disintegrate. The churches lose power. All the other nations continue with their prophecy and their churches and getting the prayers of the Gentiles and the 2/3. They start to lose power. It's like the last round of the fight. But the Gentiles had a little trick up their sleeve. They had the super vaccine that they were going to come up with in 9 months, and it was going to fix everything. And this super vaccine was going to give them the power to rise up from the ashes that the Most High tried to put them in. And they were going to come back on the scene and come back on top because of their super vaccine to actually take away the power of the plague. See, that's what the Gentiles had in mind. That's what the 2/3 had signed up for. That the Gentiles were going to come roaring back and they were going to take over the world again. And then if we wanted to participate in their world, we would have to take their super vaccine. That's what the plan was. That's what their prophecy was all about. I see a brother sent me this article earlier today. Kind of had a chance to kind of take a little bit of a little look at it. But see, it's just absolutely funny because they had their big show for the New Year's yesterday or last night and whatever else, and how they're hoping that 2020 won't suck and how things are going to be so much better because of this great vaccine, because that's pretty much all that they have at this point, because they need some kind of hope. It's all about hope because they know that, I was watching another video, they know that if they don't have hope, people are going to lose their ever-loving mind and then just go crazy in society if they lose that hope. Well, they're going to lose that hope, don't worry. Because they're going to be, the Most High is already showing them that vaccine is not going to work the way that they, have been telling you. As soon as they got that vaccine, all of a sudden Most High went ahead and released this new variant that is a lot more contagious. And now, these scientists who've said they put their faith in science to get us back to normal, now that science is kind of going out the window, because at the pace, like I said, the pace, what is it, 1 million doses a week right now? And at that pace, it would take a decade, 10 years to reach herd immunity. Now, as you can tell, the Gentiles are just really incompetent in absolutely everything that they do. I said running the nation, writing history, very incompetent in religious, teachings. I haven't found anything that they do that's actually done well. It seemed well when we, were under our trance and under the curses. We didn't know any better. But they've had their chance, and every time we look up, they do everything horribly. So now they got this rollout of this vaccine. It's only been since like what, around December 8th or something like that, where they had the first ones in the UK. And then I think ours was actually about a little bit after, like the week after or something like that. They started actually rolling out the vaccine. But now they're having to make huge changes already, not even a month into, actually rolling these vaccines out. Now, the thing is that UK is talking about doing this, and you know that as soon as they keep finding that variant here, they're probably going to be doing the same thing over here and worldwide. They're probably going to do the same thing that the UK is doing right here. Let's read a little bit about what's going on right here. Britain opts for mix and match vaccinations, confounding experts. It says if a second dose of one vaccine isn't available, another may be substituted according to new UK guidelines. So I didn't realize that you just mix and match and change it up and whatever else. But this just shows you how bad it's already getting. It must be already bad if you're talking about mixing and matching vaccines, because they're all like, well, because they're talking about if you had the Pfizer vaccine, you're supposed to get one 21 days later. Then now they are going to call a bunch of people, like thousands of people, until they can't get the second one yet, because they're trying to get as many people with the first as they possibly can. And that's what they're going to tell you a little bit right now. It says, amid a sputtering vaccine rollout and fears of a new and potentially more transmissible variant of the coronavirus, Britain has quietly updated its vaccination playbook to allow for a mix and match vaccine regimen. If a second dose of the vaccine a patient originally received isn't available, or if the manufacturer of the first shot isn't known, another vaccine may be substituted, health officials said. This new guidance contradicts guidelines in the United States, where the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has noted that the authorized COVID-19 vaccines are not interchangeable, and that the safety and efficacy of a mixed product series have not been evaluated. Both doses of the series should be completed with the same product. Some scientists say Britain is gambling with its new guidance. There are no data on this idea whatsoever, said John Moore, a vaccine expert at Cornell University. Officials in Britain seem to have abandoned science completely now and are just trying to guess their way out of a mess. Health officials in Britain are caught in a deadly race with the virus, which is surging again, and are struggling to get as many people vaccinated as possible. Hospitals continue to strain under a crush of coronavirus patients, and tens of thousands of new infections are reported each day. Schools in London and other regions hit hard by the virus will remain closed for at least the next 2 weeks, government officials said on Friday. Now, it's kind of funny that the United States is kind of talking mess on the UK, when the United States is in exactly the same position. No better. They had their rollout, and they've only gotten around 2.7 million people to actually take the vaccine. You got some people who intentionally, one guy who left out, was it 500 doses? Left them out of the freezer on purpose, and now they're actually, I think, going to arrest them, or they already did. You got a lot of nurses actually refusing to take the vaccine. So they're in exactly the same situation, and now they got the new strain here. And the reason that the UK found it is actually they do that genome sequencing. They actually are like one of the top nations that actually does it. And I think that we were in the 40% of actually doing the genome testing. So we were like, whatever happened to USA's number one? We're number one. We're like number 40 in the genome testing. We're like way at the bottom in many different areas of this, of what's going on right now, as far as the plague is concerned. But we understand why. This is prophecy. It has nothing to do with what they say. See, that's all these religious organizations have taken away what's really in the scriptures. They've taken away the true understanding. See, these Gentiles still think that men control the outcome of things. You don't. The Most High controls absolutely everything. So you guys can make your plans, but the Most High is laughing at your plans. You guys can talk about how you're going to, have super vaccine come in and save the day and put you back on top. But as you can see, that's not going to happen. As you can see, Britain is struggling with what's going on over there. We are in exactly the same situation. They're not going to get the people vaccinated fast enough. The Most High ramped up this new mutant strain that's going to move even faster. And it's going to push the hands of the Gentiles. So look at that. I guess look at that one more time. Some scientists say Britain is gambling with its new guidance. There are no data on this idea whatsoever, said John Moore, a vaccine expert at Cornell University. Officials in Britain seem to have abandoned science completely now and are just trying to guess their way out of a mess. What has the United States been doing? Have they not been trying to just guess themselves out of a mess? See, this is what happens when maybe they've realized that science isn't going to save them. See, the vast majority of this nation here has put their faith in science. So we said last month was going to be the worst month ever since this has started. And that's exactly what happened. Is it close to 7 million cases in a month? January is going to be even worse. So we're telling you, the Most High is letting you know, as long as you ignore the Most High's chosen people, He's going to just put the clamps on tighter and tighter every single month. So you guys acted like, yesterday or today's a new year. The Most High is showing you this is not the new year. He's ramped up everything in our new year, and our new year is in March. You still got 3 more months before the new year. You got 3 more months before you've actually served your first year of punishment. You got 3 more months. And what happened 3 days before their supposed new year was the worst. There's the last 3 days. They just released this information, I think, today. It was the worst 3 days of the pandemic. Over 10,000 lives lost in the last 3 days. And where are your leaders? Your leader that's here today could care less. He's been out busy golfing the whole time. When Sleepy Joe shows up, he's not going to fix anything either, because men have no control over what's going on right now. The UK is stressing because they know that these things are not working out. They understand that maybe they understand, like I said, science isn't the answer. I didn't realize you can mix and match vaccines. But see, the United States was talking about actually just giving out the first dose to as many people as they possibly can, and people not getting the second dose. So I heard them talking about that actually already going against what their supposed science was saying about you get the first dose and then you get to the other one 21 days later. They'll change it. They're going to have to. The Most High is tightening that vice. And just because they're trying to tell everybody, well, we know that we're pretty sure that this is going to work, that the vaccine is going to work. Well, is it going to work if you only take the first dose and you don't get the second one? Oh, we don't know because we haven't tested that. But exactly. This is just showing you how the Most High is in charge, not super vaccine. That's not going to fix the issue. That's not going to fix the problem. The problem is you guys destroyed the Most High's jewels. You destroyed the Most High's chosen people. You broke all the covenants, and now you're trying to hide all your dirt. You're trying to force, political events right now into prophecy. You're trying to force events in the so-called Middle East into prophecy, and it's not working. And it's not working, and it's not going to work. The Most High is pulled the blessings away from you and handed you the curses. And this is the first year. This is the transition year for you guys to understand it. 9 months in, you put your faith into super vaccine. And you were telling the whole world how you were going to snap back with the super vaccine, and you're going to put the Most High's chosen people back into slavery in your system. And very few, of the Most High's chosen people have been telling the truth as far as how that's not going to work, how that's not going to happen. The vast majority of the Gentiles, they have their faith in the super vaccine. 2/3 faith in the super vaccine. Many people professing to be in the truth, they had faith in the super vaccine. They were hoping, I guess, for the super vaccine to show up and for them to be put under Esau's thumb again, I guess. I don't know. But the Most High has already shown you that isn't going to work. And you imagine, as these people are already losing their minds and all they have is faith in this vaccine, you imagine what's going to happen when they realize the vaccines aren't going to work. You imagine how crazy these people are going to be. Now, if they can't even follow their own protocols already, only in less than a month of them actually rolling these vaccines out, what does that tell you about what's going to happen here in the next few weeks? When the new strain starts to just go rampant. And they can't get enough people to actually take the vaccine. Or they only give them one shot, which then reduces the efficacy. Then what? So a little bit more. Health officials in Britain are caught in a deadly race with the virus, which is surging again. Is it not surging here? Yes, it is. Okay. And are struggling to get as many people vaccinated as possible. Is that not happening here as well? Yes, it is. Hospitals continue to strain under a crush of coronavirus patients. Is that happening over here? Yes, it is. And tens of thousands of new infections are reported each day. Is that happening here? Yes, it is. But ours is hundreds of thousands. Okay? Right here we got, the country has issued an emergency green light to 2 vaccines. Is that happening here? Yes, it has. Developed by Pfizer and AstraZeneca, according to Britain's new guidance. Every effort should be made to complete a dosing regimen with the same shot first used. But when the same vaccine is not available, or if the first product received is unknown, it is reasonable to offer 1 dose of the locally available product the second time around. This option is preferred if the individual is likely to be at immediate high risk or is considered unlikely to attend again. The recommendation said, because both vaccines target the spike protein of the coronavirus, it is likely the second dose will help to boost the response to the first dose. Okay. Following requests for comment, officials at Public Health England drew attention to the similarities between the Pfizer and AstraZeneca vaccines and said that clinical trials testing mixed regimens were to start sometime this year. Hold on. And said that clinical trials testing mixed regimens were to start sometime this year. Yeah, they're going to test it, all right. Yeah, on the public. So yeah, we're going to test that a little bit later on this year and see how that works out. Yeah, on the public. That's exactly what they've been doing with all these vaccines. There's plenty of people that they didn't test it on, didn't check to see how it was going to, affect them. And they're just doing it in the public now. It says, it is far from certain that the vaccines are interchangeable, several researchers said. None of this is being data-driven right now, said Dr. Phyllis Tan, an infectious disease physician at the University of California, San Francisco. We're kind of in this wild west. You think you guys said it was all about your science, and your science is going to lead you out of this mess. It's going to lead you out of the plague. That's like slap in the face of the Most High. He's telling you that your blessing is done. Here come the curses. And now you're like, no. We got super vaccine. We're going to be back on top. We don't care what you say, Most High. We've been on top for a long time. I think we'll just continue being on top. I'm sure that's exactly what the Gentiles were telling the Most High. Yeah, I know you said it's time, but we're going to let you know that we're going to continue with these blessings. And in fact, we're going to get your own people to actually teach that we're going to continue with the blessings. Most High's like, oh, really? Okay. Here you go. Here's a hefty new plague for you. Oh, and in fact, it's going to actually spread much faster. So you already see how, your people already went out traveling all over the place. Millions, tens of millions of people. I just love listening to the news. Well, do you think that that's going to cause a spike? No, that's not going to cause a spike. No, you guys all traveling all over the place? Nah. Well, you guys celebrating your pagan holidays and ignoring the Most High? Nah, that's not going to be a problem. Yeah, okay. And you just hearing them like, well, it doesn't always mean that if people travel for the holidays that there's gonna be a spike. I'm just like, these people just cover for each other. They cover for themselves. I said, well, they've told you guys your blessing is done, and you guys don't care what the Most High says, and you want to continue with your pagan days, just like nothing's changed. Everything's the same. Well, Most High's got something for you. Because see, after you go and have all your fun, now the Most High is bringing the pain, even more so. It says Stephen Deney, a spokesman for Pfizer, pointed to the company's late-stage clinical trial findings, which relied on a 2-dose schedule of its vaccine that was 95% effective at preventing COVID-19. While decisions on alternative dosing regimens reside with health authorities, Pfizer believes it is critical health authorities conduct surveillance efforts on any alternative schedules implemented and to ensure each recipient, is afforded the maximum possible protection, which means immunization with 2 doses of the vaccine. Okay, Mr. Dennehy said. Both Pfizer and AstraZeneca's vaccines introduce into the body a protein called spike that, while not infectious itself, can teach immune cells to recognize and fight off the actual coronavirus. But the vaccines impart their immunological lessons through different methods and do not contain equivalent ingredients. While Pfizer's vaccines relies on a molecular called messenger RNA or mRNA packaged into greasy bubbles, AstraZeneca shots are designed around a virus shell that delivers DNA, a cousin of mRNA. This is just an absolute mess. It's an absolute mess. And it's a mess that the Most High is making for them. Because the curses and the blessings have switched. Remember before, many times, just like when they talk about, oh, this is just like the Spanish flu. It's just going to go away. See, you are still in your blessings. The Most High still blessed you with, things like that. There'll be a virus and it'll just go away, or, you'll be able to go back to normal. And you guys always think you're going to go back to normal. You always think that you're going to have, it doesn't matter how bad it all is, eventually things will go back to normal. And see, that's what this whole society thinks. No matter how bad it gets, the white man always gets his way. He always comes out smelling like roses at the end. No matter if we're going through a huge shitstorm, the Gentiles and the white man always come out on top. That's how it's been. I'm not even going to front. That's how it's been for the last few hundred years, because you were in your blessing. Not anymore. You coming out squeaky clean is not going to happen anymore. And that's why so many people are having such a hard time with this switch, because they're so used to everything working out and the white man being on top all the time. And like I said, hey, I would believe the same thing too, because it's always worked out for them. They had, control of the whole world. They've had all the money. They've had the land. They've had the women. They've had their time for vacations and enjoying all the fruits and everything of the lands all over the world. They raised themselves up to be the epitome of manhood. So I get it. Hey, I get what you think. But now we also get the fact that your time on top had an expiration date. And that expiration date already passed. So now you're starting to smell like sour milk, because your time at the top is over with. And don't worry, the rest of the nation's going to, they're going to get it eventually. They're going to understand pretty soon what's going on here. We've been at the bottom. You guys kept us at the bottom. You made it seem as if, we're like the scum of the earth. The shit on the bottom of your shoe that you haven't had to worry about. I get it. The whole world thinks that about us. But they can only think that now about us if they just don't listen to anything we have to say. Because now that we're bringing out this truth, there's nothing that you guys can do to stop it. There's nothing that you can do to counter it. And that's why everything you guys do is now getting flipped right up on its ear. I mean, and it's not even taking very long. Less than a month. I want to say, like I said, it was December 8th, almost positive, that they gave that first old lady her shot in the arm in the UK. And I'm pretty sure it was one of our nurses the next week. And now they're scrambling to try to rush to get as many people vaccinated as fast as they can because of the plague and how it's been ramped up by the Most High. Let's take a look here a little bit more. Both vaccines are intended to be doled out in 2-shot regimens, delivered 3 or 4 weeks apart. While the first shots of each vaccine are thought to be somewhat effective at preventing COVID-19, it's the second dose, intended as a sort of molecular review session for the immune system, that clinches the protective process. Now, we did hear about that nurse who, a little bit after a week of getting the first shot, still came up positive for COVID. I've heard about that story as well. Okay? It says, while it's possible that swapping out one vaccine for another may still school the body to recognize the coronavirus, it is still a scientific gamble. With different ingredients in each vaccine, it's possible people will not benefit as much from a second shot. Mixing and matching could also make it more difficult to collect clear data on vaccine safety. Yeah, you don't think that's going to cause some issues with people getting different vaccines for the second shot or not getting a second shot at all? You think that's going to cause some issues? Of course it is. And they can't say that they know what's going to happen because they never tested for it. Okay, without evidence to back it, the hybrid vaccination approach seems premature, said Saeed Omer, a vaccine expert at Yale University. Still, it's not without precedent. Okay. Health authorities like the CDC have previously said that if it's impossible to give doses of the vaccine from the same manufacturer, providers should administer the vaccine that they have available to complete an injection schedule. In a controversial move, the British government this week also decided to front load its vaccine rollout, delivering as many first doses to people as possible, a move that could delay second shots up to 12 weeks. The speedy deployment might afford more people partial protection against the virus in the short term, but some experts, including Dr. Moore, worry that this too might be unwise and could imperil vulnerable populations. Says the vaccination gap that stretches on too long may hamstring the second shot's ability to boost the protective powers of the first, or raise the odds that people will forget or decide against returning for another injection. The whiplash changes and guidance in Britain, many made without public meetings or strong data, may erode trust in vaccination campaigns and public health measures in general, Dr. Tian said. We're making the assumption that the public is just going to listen and come in and get the vaccine, she said. I'm worried that's not going to happen. Well, that's exactly what's happening. Many people are not showing up, and many people are not just doing as they're told. And see, when people were asleep, that was much easier. Now, people are not as asleep. They are, actually waking up, and they're not just taking everything just because they've been told to do so. This is a problem not even within the Hebrew community, but this is a problem they're having with their own people. Many of their own people are refusing to take the vaccine. Many of their own nation are being turned against one another, or each other. But that's all part of prophecy as well. The Most High is not going to allow, the other nations, the elites, to just think they're just going to be able to just say it and people are going to believe them. Again, the Most High is turning them against each other. And that's all part of prophecy. A sister was talking yesterday about the video about how, the plague is affecting men more than women. And she made a great point. She was talking about how many of these women are having their men taken away from them, and they're being left vulnerable, which is exactly what they did when they got here. And they took the men away from the women and the children, and they left the women and children vulnerable, dependent upon the white man. That's happened during slavery with the Willie Lynch, when they would destroy or kill the biggest, strongest man in front of everybody. And then that would make the women and the children eventually more dependent upon the white man. Most High is like, okay, you did that to my people. Now I'm going to do the same thing to yours. I'm going to take away that security blanket. I'm going to take away, that strong male that the white man has raised himself up to be. Just like they did to us, and how our men used to be the epitome of manhood, and they broke that down and destroyed that, they destroyed our men in that way. They took us away from our position. The Most High is now doing the same thing to them. Now you understand why it is that many times the women recover or don't have it as bad, but the men end up making it into the hospital and many times not coming back out. That's all part of the prophecy of the apocalypse of Abraham. And when you understand what you're looking for, you can easily see how the Most High is moving right now. He's got these guys all confused, worried, trying to depend on science, depend on themselves in order to get them out of this mess. But there is absolutely no getting out of this mess. If the Most High calls you to follow our Father and calls you to cleave to the Most High's chosen people, that's how you're going to get out of this mess. Science and thinking you're going to get out of it on your own is going to get you absolutely nowhere. All praise is to the Most High Yahweh. Acknowledgement to the earthly mother, Who is wisdom? Who is the Holy Spirit? Acknowledge Hawashai. Shalom.